Hello everyone, my name is Rajeev Sinha and I am a research assistant at the Precision Agricultural Lab at Washington State University, Department of Biological Systems Engineering. And I work with Dr. Love Khote, who is an assistant professor at the same department. So he was supposed to be here to deliver this keynote, but unfortunately he's not here and I am doing this work for him. So today I'm going to talk about one of the coolest technologies that we use in precision agriculture, that is unmanned aerial systems, or mostly called drones. As Linda mentioned, her son used it for moving a flock of sheep to the barn. And that is something that we can think of, that it has a huge potential. The drone has huge potential and many applications in agriculture. So I will talk about some of these applications that we are working on in precision ag. And then I will talk about drones as platforms. Then we talk about some optical sensors that goes with the drone, and then the data analytics tools that we use for transforming data to decision. As you must know that Washington State produces more than 300 agricultural commodities. And out of those 300, Washington State leads. Washington State is, am I audible still? Okay, Washington State ranks #1 in the production of 10 of these agricultural commodities, like apples, which Washington State is #1 and produces around 70% of the total US production. Then we have sweet cherries. Then we have tubers, which is also grown in abundance in Washington State. So, as you see that there is a lot at stake in Washington agriculture, and we as a group working in precision agriculture are working to provide solutions to farmers to make their production system more efficient. So, in the Precision Agriculture Lab at Center for Precision and Automated Agriculture Systems at Washington State University, we are mostly working in 3 different domains. The first domain is proximal and remote sensing, where we are using some optical sensors like an RGB camera, a multispectral sensor, or a hyperspectral sensor with different platforms. The platforms can either be ground-based, like a tractor or a small agricultural vehicle, or some aerial platforms like drones. Then we also try to work with development and integration of some sensors that can be used by the farmers for transforming data to decision real time. For example, we are working on the integration of a thermal RGB sensors which can monitor fruit surface temperature in real time. And fruit surface temperature is very critical, at least for apple sunburn management. Then we also work on smart spray applications, like spray application systems. We are working on a USDA-funded fixed spray system development, that is solid set canopy delivery system, which has the potential to reduce drift and human exposure. So in the recent Washington State Economic Development Association's summer conference, there were a few questions raised that what technologies are used to advance the use of drones. Yeah, for sure, mostly for growers and farmers. Now, how the data is being collected and analyzed, and how can the market be improved, and then advances that can be economically viable for the farmers. Now, for the technological advances, I want you all to look at this image. So this is an NDVI image of a mint field in Toppenish. So an NDVI is a normalized difference vegetation index that signifies crop health, is an indicator for crop health. Now this image is taken from Landsat satellite at a resolution of 30 meters. Now you can see in this image that in the field there is no spatial variability when we look at it at a resolution of 30 meters. So a resolution of 30 meters means that each pixel on this image covers an area of 30 meter by 30 meter in the field. Now, we have images of the same field with different platforms. This is our original image from Landsat at 30 meter resolution. Now, this was taken by Sentinel, which has a resolution of 10 meter. Now you see that there is some variability that you can see in the field compared to the image from the Landsat. Then you have this rapid eye at 5 meter, and you see more variability in the data, like in the NDVI values for the same field. Here is another image from Planet at 3 meter resolution. Now you see that we can see more variability in the field in like NDVI values when we are going closer to the field from 30 meter resolution to 3 meter. And this is the image taken with a multispectral sensor on a small unmanned aerial system. Now you see, we see a lot of variability in the field in terms of NDVI. Now here is the image. That is the Landsat image at 30 meter, and then we have this image taken from drone at 9 centimeter resolution. Now we can clearly see variability in the data set, like NDVI values in the field, when we compare it to a Landsat image which has a like resolution of 30 meter. But the thing is, we have variability in the data, like in NDVI values, but from where this variability is coming, drone is not going to tell you. We have to find ways, and there are ways by which we can find out why this variability is coming. Maybe it may be because of some sort of water stress, some sort of biotic or abiotic stress in the field. So coming to remote sensing with drones, there are basically 3 components when we do remote sensing of crops or soil using a drone. The first one is the platform, which is extremely important because these are the platforms which are used to carry sensors and then like collect data in the field. It's similar to using a tractor with a plow or a seeder or something like that. So that's a platform. So it comes in different sizes and shapes. It can be fixed wing, it can be rotary wing. Then it can be a rotary wing can be like hexacopter, octocopter, or quadcopter, depending on the number of rotors it has. Then we have customized sensors. These are optical sensors that are used to collect like images from the field. They can be RGB sensors, they can be multispectral sensors, hyperspectral sensors, some thermal imager, and we also have LiDAR that is now finding its application in agriculture. Then we have the platform, we have the sensor that gives us data. But that raw data doesn't make any sense until you analyze that data for your need. And that is provided by service provider with geospatial mapping solutions. Now we have service providers like MicroSense Atlas. MicroSense provides Atlas for real-time analysis of multispectral data. Then we have Pix4D Mapper Pro, which can be from Pix4D, which can be used to analyze your multispectral data or your RGB data, like that. Then we go from data to decision. We have the data from our drone. We use it with our these mapping solutions, and then we go for decision. Then another platform that is used for crop management are the satellites, and the low orbiting satellites specifically, because these are closer to Earth, and they can provide a finer resolution and provide key information about the field or the crops. And they are flying at a quite some height. They can capture a larger area at in a small time. And then we have some advanced machine learning tools that can make sense of the data that is captured through these low orbiting satellites. Coming to types of UAS or unmanned aerial systems, like Federal Aviation Administration, it classifies these drones or unmanned aerial systems in different classes. The first class is group 1 and 2 that comes under from a weight category. That's the gross weight that takes everything into account, your platform, your sensors, battery, and everything. That's the gross weight. It's the group 1 and 2 that's from 0 pound to 55 pounds. that is mostly used. Then we have group 3 with a gross weight from 55 pounds to 1320 pounds, and then group 4 and 5 above 1320 pounds. These US or unmanned aerial systems can also be classified as fixed wing or rotary wing that I mentioned earlier. Fixed wings can cover a larger area at a very small time, but the data quality is not as good as the multi or the rotary wing unmanned aerial systems, because these systems can hover at a place, these systems can fly at a specific speed you want it to fly, and it can go at, and you can set your like image overlap and side lap based on with these platforms. For advances in optical sensors, we have a lot of optical sensors in the market these days, and they all perform some specific functions. We have RGB sensors that measures reflected energy in red, green, and blue bands of electromagnetic spectrum. They also are pretty handy when they are used with the drones. So we can use it for scouting our field. It's a very large area, maybe like hundreds of hectares, and we want to see what's going on in our field. So we can simply fly our drone with an RGB sensor and scout our field. We are also using RGB sensors for 3D reconstruction of a canopy, maybe apple or vines. Like recently, we are doing a project where we are using these RGB sensors for like assessing canopy parameters like canopy width, canopy height, canopy volume. These are really this is a very key information when we think of spraying, because when we apply spray to our field, mostly we don't apply spray based on the canopy volume. So even if a place has no canopy, the spraying is done there. So we plan to create a prescription map based on canopy density or tree row volume or vine row volume or leaf wall area, and then use that prescription map to aid variable rate spraying. Like another project that we did with this RGB sensor was to see the gradient of grapevine leaf roll disease. So we have a nursery in Benton City, and they have a block of vine that is infected with GLD, that is grapevine leaf roll disease, and it's a real menace for the grower, or because it reduces yield and all sort of problems are there like associated with GLD. Now what we did was we used, and they have another new block close to the old block, and they wanted to see how this GLD transmits from an old block to the new block. So what we did, so it can't be done just going in the field. So what we did, we flew our drone with an RGB camera, like over the crop, like 7 to 10 acres, and then we clearly see those red patches close to the block, and we could see how the GLD was transmitting to the new block from the old block. Then we have multispectral sensors that measures reflected energy in 3 to 10 bands of electromagnetic spectrum. Now here you see some sensors like Red Edge from Micasense and Parrot Sequoia. They all are multispectral sensors. The advantage of these sensors is that they see beyond the visible spectrum. They also measure reflected energy in near infrared region, and it's a key to plant's health, as in near infrared, the stressed plant reflect more compared to a healthy plant. So if we have two plants like two set of plants, one set healthy and one set disease, then the diseased one will reflect more in near infrared, and these information we can use to find out if our plants are stressed or not, and that too when their stress can't be seen visually. Then we have some hyperspectral imager. Hyperspectral imagers, they measure reflected energy in hundreds of narrow bands, and because their resolution is quite high, we can even sense very subtle variation in the data, like reflected energy in the plant, and they are highly expensive. Then we also have thermal imagers that measure reflected like infrared from any source. Mostly we work with plants. And they also find their application in agriculture for like assessing crop water stress, heat stress, something like that. Then we also have LiDAR as one of the optical sensors, and they find their application in canopy characterization, finding canopy volume and all. And then some researchers have also used to quantify drift coming from and like air assisted sprayer. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we have data from drone as a platform, and we have data from the sensors. But that data doesn't make sense to us until we analyze that data with some data analytics tool. And some of the data analytics tools available now are Atlas Pro from Microsense, which is a cloud-based processing, and they can process your multispectral data, and they can generate several indices which are key to crops health. Then we have Pix4D Mapper from Pix4D that can capture image. We can use Pix4D capture and create a mission of our plot, and then we can collect data. And that's a completely autonomous flight. And then it can do cloud-based processing and sharing of images that we collected. These are all paid softwares, but we also have some open source software like QGIS that is an offline vector and raster based data analysis. Then we have ImageJ, but the problem with ImageJ is that it can handle only small data set. Now coming to the main thing that we all are interested in is the application of like imaging like UAS for us, or use of an unmanned aerial system. What applications can we use it for? So the applications of an unmanned aerial systems can be broadly classified as either imaging or non-imaging. So we are working in both the domains of using, we are trying to use unmanned aerial systems as much as we could for making farming more efficient and like less cumbersome. So the first application is imaging applications, where we collect images, we analyze those images, and then make decisions based on those images. Now we have done some projects with finding crop emergence in potatoes. Then we have also done some projects for winter survival of wheat and finding out the yield potential based on multispectral data. We have also done some project for like insurance companies for assessing hail damage in potatoes, which is a very which is like found mostly that that insurance companies, they have to go and scout for like hail damage, and if a plot is like 10 hectares, it's really a big task to be done. So what we did, we collected aerial images of the plots which were damaged by hail, and then based on like NDVI values, you can see in the plot on the side, on the top right of the slide, that based on NDVI values, we correlated hail damage with our ground truth. Like imaging applications, we also have explored biotic stress monitoring in crops, that is stress due to some pathogen. This is an image at the bottom right of the slide is from a potato field which was like affected by fire blight. So based on that like multispectral imaging, we could find out where the biotic stress is happening in the field, which for sure we can't see through our naked eyes. Then we also did some project for like tree counting in nurseries, because nursery people, they just send laborers to go out and then do it manually, and for a big nursery it's like really cumbersome. So we used multispectral data to generate like digital elevation models, and based on that we found out the number of plants in the nursery and then correlated with our ground truth measurement. We also have tried to like evaluate abiotic stress in plants. On like in the slide, on you see a like thermal image on the top left corner of the slide. in this image, we try to have some irrigation like deficit. We irrigated different rows of crops with different levels of irrigation, and we try to see if we can see that change with a drone-based imagery using thermal camera. So the two rows in the center, you see, they were applied lesser irrigation than the normal level, and you can clearly see that they are hotter because the lighter pixels are hotter and the darker pixels are cooler. So you can clearly see that these two rows with irrigation that was less than the normal, they are under heat stress, and that we quantified with the use of a thermal imagery. Then we also have done the evaluation of some irrigation treatments, mostly with center pivot, which is very common in Washington. So they are exploring two treatments, LISA and MISA, that low elevation sprinkler spray application and mid elevation. And they're trying to see which treatment is better in terms of canopy cooling, in terms of lodging of mint crop. This was the mint crop. And we could see that with our thermal imager, that as you can see that those areas with MISA have a higher GNDVI. And we give that data to the people or the scientists who are working or the growers who are working to find out what's going on with the two systems. Then we have also done some projects with Phenomics group, and they are working with plant breeders to find out those varieties which are better than other varieties. So they generally go and plot different varieties in the field, and based on the phenotypic traits, they try to find out which variety is better, like crop height, then canopy vigor. These parameters, they try to use these parameters to select varieties. And the method they do it is manual. They go in the field and collect data. But with the drone-based sensor or multispectral imagery, we can find out these parameters like crop height, and then we can find out canopy vigor, and we can tell them like instantly after analyzing the data that you don't need to go to the field, but you can see from the images that which varieties are performing better. Then we have also done some yield prediction based on multispectral imagery and differential harvest. Now, the trend is, or the focus is to accelerate precision agriculture to decision agriculture. Now, what does it mean that, okay, we have precise measurement of like field conditions or different crop parameters, but can that be used for decision agriculture, making decision? Nowadays, everything is kind of connected. We are going in the age of Internet of Things. So there we need to go from precision agriculture to decision agriculture. One example I will tell you is a project that we are doing for apple sunburn management. As I mentioned earlier, we have developed a thermal RGB sensors which we are using to monitor fruit surface temperature of apples in real time. And then we know the critical threshold of different varieties of apples which are susceptible to sunburn. So what we are doing is that based on the real-time measurement of fruit surface temperature, we are setting a critical threshold that will actuate the overhead canopy cooling systems in real time. And there is no need for someone to check the air temperature and then start the irrigation, because crop microclimate can be very different from the outside air temperature. Then we also have mid-sized unmanned aerial systems. They are big, more than 1,320 pounds, and they are mostly used for surgical spraying, because we have to have a big spray tank on these platforms, and they go and spray the particular spots in the field which is infected by pathogen. So these have been used in Washington for spraying in orchards, in California for spraying in grapevines, and other row and field crops. So this is one project that we did for in-field sensing of surface wetness of cherries. Sweet cherries are highly susceptible to cracking when there is an occurrence of rain event right before harvest. And that rainwater needs to be removed. So we developed an in-field sensing system which can monitor the surface wetness in cherries, and then and once a critical like threshold is reached, we used an like unmanned helicopter to remove the water from the surface of like cherries to prevent cherry cracking. Then the second class of like application of unmanned aerial system is non-imaging. I've already talked about sweet cherry cracking prevention and chemical sprayer. On the right-hand side of the slide, at the top, you see an orchard in China that is being sprayed using like 8 to 10 drones working in tandem. At our center, that is the Center for Precision and Automated Agricultural Systems at Prosser, a group of students and faculty members are working for bird deterrence using unmanned aerial system. That is a non-imaging application. So the team has developed algorithms which can track the birds coming into farms, and this is especially very critical for like people who are working in specialty crop like blueberry. So they track the birds coming to the farm with different machine learning algorithm, and then they use a drone to scare the birds off the field. So the plan is to like employ a number of drones in the field, and as they see the birds, they move towards the birds and scare them. They also use some predatory sound on the drone to scare the birds. Like another interesting like application of US is the release of beneficial insects that is being carried out at WSU's Tree Fruit Research and Extension Center in Wenatchee. There they are like releasing sterile codling moth into apple orchards. Now the idea is that these sterile codling moths will mate with the fertile moths in the field, and then there is no reproduction because one of the partners is sterile, and then there is a reduction in the load of codling moth in the next generation. Now we talked about technological advances, data collections with sensors, and then analysis using different data analytic tools. Now coming to market improvement, like a 2017 report of like article from Seattle Business Magazine, it wrote that welcome to the drone economy, a new industrial sector is arriving and nobody is at the wheel. This is true because drones are finding like immense applications and has huge potential to be used in like possibly in every sector. And then we have it for, and then there can be industries, or there can be industries for manufacturing of drones, the sensors, spare parts, and then telecommunication and cloud data storage services, different data analytic companies, because there are very few now, then crop service providers, then insurance companies, and capacity building like education and training. So all these places, all these are future scopes of drone industry. But for market improvement, the regulations are the key for any like market improvement of any commodity. And then for application of drone in agriculture, we need to have fewer red tapes, or we need to have fewer regulations that can enable this industry to grow further. Coming to impacts on US economy, we have not done like any study on like economy because we are not like economists, but the association for unmanned vehicle systems international, they predicted a total economic impact of around 13.6 billion in the years 2013 to 16, with a total of 70,000 jobs. They project around $82.1 billion economic impact in the span 2015 to 25, with around 100,000 jobs. And yes, there are a lot of jobs coming. We see that the students from our university are hired by researchers, some of these data analytics companies, to work in the drone industry. Now coming to rank order of benefiting states, California is the #1 state that will get benefited from the drone industry, followed by Washington, Texas, Florida, and Arizona. And around 90% of these applications will be in precision agriculture and public safety. This is an interesting slide. We are kind of witnessing the fourth revolution in industry, where we have cyber physical systems communicating and cooperating with each other to make decisions. And we have a very limited intervention of human, and that is really key for an efficient like agriculture system and a production system. And thank you very much. For more information, you can contact Dr. Cote, and we were supposed to do a drone demonstration, but because of the flight restrictions here, we are not able to do that. But I have some drones and sensors set up at a booth, and you can come and talk to me if you have more questions on this. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening.